will work on all the presentations. And what I like about the presentations, the challenges talk to each other. It's not anyone who talks anything unique which the other stakeholder does not know. Even the NPA that is dealing with these cases, they raise the same challenge that you have raised. So that makes it much easier. And then that committee number 3, I already give the terms of reference of that committee. Like I said, there were already in 2017, 2018, certain measures that we already put in place. We still have them. We still have the minutes. We still have the whatever, the plans of action. Let them go and review that and see which ones can we put into operation once again with immediate effect. But over and above that, what we need to look at is how best we can coordinate the activities, how best we can, work together. There's no point in us coming here and saying SAPS is doing this, that is doing that. Like I agree with the gentleman that says, let us go back and look at ourselves, self-reflection to say, what am I doing that affects the operation of the next partner? I like what I hear there. Apparently MTN and Vodafone, they are now working in partnership. They are one. So why can't we join them and just be one thing? Things like that. So that is what I want to propose. Now everybody is talking about the Indaba. The idea of the Indaba is precisely that, look, there's nothing that we can really do if we don't have the support of our principals. I cannot come with anything that contradicts what my principal's vision and whatever is. But he does not know, like we seated here, what is the feeling of this house towards the NPA. That NPA, you are failing us here, do 1, 2, 3, 4. So it means I have to go and review whatever directives that my principal has now put in place in respect of the copper theft and the sexual infrastructure. Say, what is that the stakeholders are expecting of me as an NPA? And what is that I as an NPA expect substance? There will also be a need for us to have some certain bilaterals, because there are certain things that I cannot openly address with crime intelligence. I cannot openly address with SAPS. And one thing that we have failed to do is to involve, they all gone, the general detectives. They were here. We have to bring them in a way also. I hear people saying they're specialists, do this and whatever. The Hawks, they also deal with this kind of essential infrastructure cases somehow. Organized crime of Mkaulezi, of detectives, we have to bring them in. And we now need to also check in terms of whether we have brought everybody on board. Munyai talked about there are people that are not here, that should be here. Perhaps at the end we'll also have the accused to come and tell us why they are stealing. But precisely that is what I'm saying. But equally important, from the NPA point of view, I would have liked to see those cases that Mr. Munyai says are here. Let's hear in terms of like what one of the stakeholders tried to do. They give us the stats of 2020, 2021, 2021, 2022, so that we see if we are making any progress in terms of that. But what is equally important for me is moving forward from here. NPA, you already have those cases on your court rolls. We need to consolidate the database that you have and hear from the stakeholders. CENTLEC must give us all the list of those cases that they have registered and compare that with what we already have at court. MTN the same, Vodacom the same, and everybody. so that we compared our databases, so that we are also able to give you individually feedback in terms of the cases that we have. Let's also identify those cases that we are saying are backlogged. The CEO said there's 100 cases registered, but there's only 3 cases that there is something happening. You know, those kind of things. So I said in the beginning, we are about, so that we approach things differently than what we are doing now. The colonel showed here, I see that she plays a very important role in terms of, and we need to sit down and see how do we coordinate our activities and whatever. So for us, really, there is quite a number of action plans that were proposed as we went along. So we need to just zoom into that action plan and say, this is the way forward. So in terms of training, yes, we must now here and today now, as we move forward, as we plan our diagnosis, identify what kind of training do we need. So let's have the training needs now. From what was said and what Mr. Goliath said, that he also teaches prosecutors because he works with the act now, which is good. I read this little thing and finished it, and I thought, if I were a prosecutor and have this little thing in my pocket, there's no case that I can fail. It's very clear. It's short and smooth and basic. You know, so thank you very much, Colonel, for this. There's a need for us to identify the different sub-officials in the different districts who are handling these cases. NPA, as much as you say you don't have the post currently, but my view is you already have prosecutors that are prosecuting. Let us, at least for now, I know I personally compiled a memorandum which I sent to NPA head office, where I requested, at least for the province, that we have 8 specialist posts of prosecutors that will exclusively deal with these matters. Whether we will get the post or that is another thing, but we can do with what we have. That in each sub-clusters that we have, Putarichaba area, already we know by now that we need a dedicated person that we can train, that we can empower, that we can whatever, who will then be our nodal point in terms of all these cases around the area of Putarichaba. Similarly, I know the social bank area, we already have Mr. Teki, who's running with especially the fuel pipeline cases there around Harrismith, Friede, and whatever. I know he's there. Kronstadt, we look around that district, who the prosecutor that we can put there. Velkom, we need a prosecutor there. For the Bloemfontein rural courts, I know Smithfield has got a lot of cases there. Smithfield, Bloemfontein, Betuli. Yeah. We need to identify a prosecutor here in Bloemfontein who will be responsible for all those cases there, who will be our nodal point there. Yeah, we need the name there. We need someone for Tabancho Botabe, an NPA nodal point, dedicated person there. And once we have identified those people, then we come together as different stakeholders. We have a presentation or training, second hand goods act. We go through how that act. The criminal law, what act. We find the right people who can bring us in there. What is very important from my conversation with different prosecutors is we need to have some kind of a presentation in terms of the identification, the related matters in terms of that. So the bail, we need to come together as stakeholders and the investigating officers dealing with those cases to come through the bail legislation. This already tells you that these matters are Schedule 5. In other words, they have to go to court and the accused must show court that it is in the interest of justice that he be released. Yeah. How difficult can that be for the prosecutor to oppose bail? Because obviously when you look at the damage and the whatever, or the reparation cost and whatever, that is not in the interest of justice that you have that person outside. That's what I'm saying. But we need those kind of training, the bail, Essential Infrastructure Act, your Second-Hand Goods Act, and I don't know, any other thing that we might need for training purposes. You know, and that committee, we previously we had a checklist. When the docket is open there at the church office, from that moment, there's a checklist that guides the person to say, hey, I must have this following statements. If a foreigner, I need a 212 or a printout from banners. So that should already guide the person. Within 48 hours, at least that docket must come to court. He said in his laptop already, he have everything. He just simply print and put it in the docket. When he gives it to the IO, it's already complete and ready to go to court. Such things. We should get those things going. That's basically what I think we should do now from moving forward. And then this kind of a team, maybe we should meet again after 2 months. We give that team 2 months exactly to go and put in place and come up with a, what I would call a working document in terms of efficiency in handling essential infrastructure and related matters. And related, because it's not just essential infrastructure. And related matters. We have a document. We start talking about it, but some of the things from the NPA's point of view we can start putting in place now, identifying prosecutors, doing that and doing that, and working on the database. Mr. Munyai has started already screening those cases, and we can meet with Colonel Shodi to give us the list of those cases, J534s that have been withdrawn. We put together a screening team that will go through that, and then they compile us a report, and we can report on this forum to say, these are the number of J534s that have been withdrawn previously, that we have screened. We have found in 10%, this was the problem, 20%, this was the problem, and this is what we planning to put in place so that we don't have any of those J534s ever withdrawn because of those reasons again. If you ask me to repeat what I said, I don't know anything.
No, thank you. I think you have clarified everything and also touched on our point number 6, that is the establishment of this forum. Is there any question from what Mr. Matloko has just said in clarifying our action plan? But I still think that we still need to come up with the interim measures of what is it that needs to be done in the meantime while still sorting everything aside, because this is a national problem, and we've indicated Free State has this crisis, and we need to ensure that we start doing something, start having the action to ensure that at least we're doing something from our side. That I fully agree that from here moving forward, we need to find a way of solving that. But I think what needs to be done from all different stakeholders, because it starts from the securities and from the managers from different service providers to the police officers and up to the prosecution side. Mr. Munyai has indicated we know in the province we have the 2 SPPs, that is Mr. Munyai and Mr. Lipluth. As the managers or as security officers from different service providers, when you come across the challenges or whatever, you need to immediately engage the 2 SPPs, including even the official from Home Affairs, so that they start getting involved from the beginning. And when the case gets to court on the first appearance, at least, because from the presentations that we have heard here, most of the cases are not being even placed on the court roll because there is no link to the commission of the offense, or there is no link to the accused person itself. So that needs to be clarified in the meantime while we're still sorting our house in order. And whilst this team that's going to be established now is also going to sit down and draft the work document, working document. Is that what you meant, Madam? I think that's so. Do we then agree to say all managers from the different service providers, you now know the contact numbers, even of subs officials, because you cannot do anything without the involvement of subs, unfortunately. For the case to be able to get to court, it has to go via subs offices. As much as most of them are not here, but Brigadier is here from the underground operation. But yes, we are represented, and the kennels, senior kennels are also here. They are also represented. Isn't that?
Yes,
the contact details. Attendance register, I was looking for it when Mr. Mafik was talking here, but where is the attendance register? Has everyone signed? Where is it? Okay, thank you, thank you. We have the attendance register. We will email it to everyone. I think there's email address for each and every person that's in here. So we will email that attendance register. You will have the contact details where you can also contact the relevant people. And even when you cannot get hold of the two SPPs, the two chiefs are also available to be contacted at any time.
The presentation or the list that I sent the list now to
the list of the cases that you have. Thank you. Thank you.
We can just have a look at, especially those where they just of the federal.
What we will also do is to give you the structure of the two clusters so that you know which courts fall under the jurisdiction of Mr. Monyai and which courts you need to contact now, Mr. Lewis. But what I also wanted to quickly talk about is, you know, the journey that we are undertaking now is expensive, but it is aimed at saving money. We will be saving money for Transnet. We will be saving the money for CENTLEC. We will be saving money for Vodacom. Instead of losing 2 million, all that we need is at least 20,000 rand from the stakeholders to host the Indaba. Now we must now talk of money now. All that we proposing for the purpose of Indaba, if I can summarize in conclusion, it's a 2-day kind of Indaba. The first day is aimed at training. We run with training 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, but we focus on the right people that needs to be trained. Because when you say stakeholders nominate people, these people